Imagine waking up to the heartbreaking news of yet another school shooting. It's a grim reality that has been plaguing our society for decades. And I don't know about you, but every time I hear about another shooting, it's genuinely heart-wrenching. Because as of October 26, 2023, the K-12 school shooting database reports a staggering 321 school shootings in the United States since the 1970s. That's averaging 2.3 per year. These aren't statistics. They represent shattered lives, fractured families, and communities forever scarred. Hi there, my name is Cherryl Hewson, and today we're not merely discussing another tragic incident, we'll be delving into the unsettling narrative of Salvador Ramos, the central figure in a devastating shooting that claimed 21 lives in Uvalde. I want to start this section by asking you to take a deep breath for a minute and step into the shoes of someone else. Picture yourself as a child, trying to navigate a world where every day feels like an uphill battle. There is the ever-present worry about where the next meal's going to come from. Your father is largely absent most of the time. This is the harsh reality some children face, and it's a reality that shapes their lives in a profound and often painful way. Research tells us that the longer a child is exposed to poverty, the greater the risk of negative outcomes. The prevalence of mental health issues like conduct disorders, mood and anxiety disorders are higher in children who live in poverty as compared to those children who don't. The research that I'm citing is by McCarthy, and it's an easy read, so I encourage you to take a look at it, and I'll put a link below. The question here is, did Salvador Ramos have a mental disorder? I think there's something clearly wrong when his peers had nicknamed him the school shooter. It must have been quite clear to all those around Salvador that he was grappling with his own dark reality. His online persona was horrible. It was a mix of black clothes, combat boots, and disturbing content. He threatened, manipulated, and even shared a video of himself cruelly tossing a dead cat out the window of a car. If you can't see this, there's a red flag beside me. Let's continue. Salvador struggled to fit in with everybody. He battled a eating disorder and he continually had feelings of isolation. When his girlfriend decided to leave him, he felt that as another body blow in which he became lonely and increasingly depressed. That's another red flag. Salvador's online usernames and email addresses contain themes of confrontation and rage. He watched and sometimes shared graphic content that included themes of suicide and violence. He sent unexpected messages to people online that were simply inappropriate and explicit. That's another red flag. He wasn't just spitting fire online. He was acting out by punching holes in walls, harassing ex-girlfriends and her friends. In fact, he told his ex-girlfriend that he would not live past the age of 18 because he would either kill himself or because simply he wouldn't live long. And that is simply another red flag that people needed to take note of. Salvador was a keen online gamer, but when he lost a game, it sent him into an uncontrollable rage. And disturbingly, female players faced a nightmare of graphic threats and violent fantasies from him. He was like a puppet master, pulling the strings of fear and control online. But was anybody watching this and thinking there was something wrong here? Again, this was another red flag that could have been acted on. But online and in person, connecting with others was like a foreign language to Salvador. Take this bizarre quote, "I'm not human," and he thought that was used to insult others. I just want you to imagine scrolling through social media and someone throws out the "not human" as an insult. That's weird, isn't it? Was this a cry for help, a desperate attempt to push people away, or something else entirely different? Maybe, just maybe, Salvador had a psychiatric disorder. I think that one of the things that stands out here is that Salvador lacked empathy. To be empathetic, you need to be able to understand and share your feelings with another person. Empathy is crucial for building those strong connections and navigating all the complexities of human interaction. But here's the twist. Empathy isn't a binary switch. It's a spectrum we all fall on. So simply saying that someone lacks empathy isn't that helpful. Instead, I think it's better for us to look at the factors that might contribute to somebody who struggles with connection to others. Think about that disturbing video where Salvador drove around with a dead cat in the bag, tossing it out the window onto the street, spitting on it and then laughing. And let's be honest, that behaviour should have raised eyebrows, right? And guess what? It did. It raised concerns with his family and friends. But here's the kicker. Nothing happened. That is not normal. This should have raised a red flag that his family acted on. And it wasn't just the dead cat. His online world was a dark carnival of threats, violence, and disturbing content. Yet these red flags remained unseen, unheard, and they just were lost like whispers in the wind. No reports to authorities, no red flags raised on his social media account. Did we miss an opportunity to intervene? Did we collectively turn a blind eye to the warning signs? These are tough questions. If you see or experience someone do something like this, it means they need help. I've left a link below to some mental health resources. You might be able to refer to someone who be struggling in the way that Salvador was. So was there a storm brewing here, and what were the signs of that storm? Well, Salvador started work at Whataburger and was fired a month later because he had threatened a female co-worker. He didn't last long at his next job at Wendy's. And a co-worker went on to describe Salvador as not a good person, someone who was troubled, someone who put himself in a box and would not talk or associate with anyone he worked with. Another co-worker got an earful when Salvador's gun conversation went south. Was this just a casual chat or a chilling glimpse into his dark desires? He told people that he was working to save as much money as possible, and he kept hinting at the big event. All these events, even individually, weren't just red flags. They were flashing neon signs. Salvador couldn't even hold down a job. He could not connect with people in a meaningful way. His absolute disrespect for females, his fascination with guns, and most of all, people who worked with him thought he was mentally unwell. Nobody seems to have connected the dots here, even with the ominous hints and the troubling behaviour. As 2021 rolled in, Salvador was living rent-free at his home. No bills, just cash piling up. He continued to brag about something big coming, promising everyone that he would be seen in the news. But what kind of news? By the end of 2021, Salvador brought himself some body armour, shin guards and rifle accessories such as a red dot sight. At this stage, Salvador was still 17. He was too young to legally purchase firearms. But that didn't stop him from trying, and thankfully the sellers that he approached all said no to him. The warning signs were flashing like neon lights. And here's the thing that I find the most troubling. Everyone seemed to know. His family, his friends, his co-workers. It wasn't a secret. No one reached out for help. No one reported Salvador's behaviour to the authorities. No one intervened. There was just silence. This begs the question, was this a mental health crisis ignored? Was this tragedy preventable? I think the answer is clearly yes. I know this might be hard for people to hear, but I really believe to move forward and to prevent the past from repeating itself, we need to understand what happened before this tragedy unfolded. Let's turn to the days leading up to the tragedy. Remember that tense feeling you had before a storm? That's what the weeks before the Uvalde shooting was like. Salvador had a fight with his mum and he moved in with his grandma and cousin. He confided in his cousin, saying he didn't want to live anymore. After a heart-to-heart, the cousin thought that she had reached Salvador, But she hadn't, because Salvador went on to talk to his uncle, and that talk wasn't enough either. Meanwhile, his shopping cart revealed another sinister side. More gun accessories like ammo and sights piled up, enough to supply a small army. When Salvador turned 18, he could legally buy firearms. And that's what he did. He purchased 2 AR-style rifles, thousands of rounds of ammo, all delivered to his grandmother's doorstep. No alarm bells rang for the seller, who just saw Salvador as a quiet customer. But others in the store had a different feeling. Nervousness, odd, school shooter vibes. These were red flags. Salvador's grandmother and cousin weren't oblivious either. When they found out that Salvador had guns in the house, they kicked him out. But Salvador wasn't to be deterred. He hid one of the guns outside, waiting for his moment. And what I find really extraordinary about this was the first time Salvador ever used a firearm was when he shot his grandmother on the day of the shooting. So Salvador had no training, no experience. He just had a plan and weapons. And it was a plan that Salvador was determined to enact. It's the morning of the 24th of May. Salvador was on a FaceTime call with a teenager in Germany, and he uttered words that would have sent shivers down anyone's spine. He said, "I've just shot my grandmother, and I'm going to shoot up an elementary school." And this young 15-year-old girl replied with a single horrifying word, "Cool." If there was ever a red flag, it's this one. Where were the parents of this young girl? And where was their parental supervision of her online presence? This 15-year-old girl simply failed to grasp the gravity of the situation because not long after talking with Salvador, 21 lives abruptly ended. Think about that for a moment. Their laughter, their dreams, their future, all silenced in an instant. Let's pause there so we can reflect and honour their memory. Was there a deafening silence? Was this tragedy preventable? Yes, absolutely. Any number of people could have prevented this from happening. The young 15-year-old girl in Germany could have alerted authorities. Instead, she was found guilty by a German court for failing to warn authorities. More specifically, her parents could have intervened early. They could have alerted authorities that Salvador was heading in a deeply disturbing direction. Any member of Salvador's family could have alerted authorities that he was mentally unwell and that he needed help urgently. The school could have acted and provided Salvador with help. Even the simplest intervention could have turned Salvador on a different course from the one he took. The state of Texas could have had gun laws, like red flag laws. But since Uvalde, it has turned into America's most gun-friendly state, and that is unbelievable. It isn't just about one teenager's actions. It's about a critical gap in society. How do we equip young people to navigate online dangers, recognise red flags, and know who to turn to when faced with something that's completely out of their grasp? Moreover, what do we do as a society when one of our members is mentally unwell? Do we really turn a blind eye to what is obviously happening and that somebody is clearly in trouble? I think the legal verdict is in on this case, but the conversation is far from over. Let's wrap this up. As we navigate the aftermath of this terrible tragedy, it's crucial to remember understanding doesn't condone, it illuminates. There were many red flags during the time that Salvador was alive that could have been acted on, but silence from others prevented that. I know that I've been silent at times, and I really do regret that because my own inaction only led to the fear and anxiety of others. So here's the call. Be an advocate for open communication. Foster an environment where red flags are not ignored but addressed. Educate yourself and those around you on signs of distress. Reach out to those who might be struggling and don't shy away from reporting concerning behaviours. Remember, it's not just what we do that matters, it's what we choose not to do that can have far-reaching consequences. This is Cherryl Hewson signing off from Indefinite Time. Until next time, stay safe and vigilant. And remember, leave your comments below. Hit the like and subscribe button if you want more videos like this. In the meantime, take care.